Right, team, let's start with the good news. You're not immortal. The black line here is your lifespan, but more importantly, your health span. How long you can actually do stuff without everything hurting and making weird noises. At some point in your life, easy things will become hard to do. And today, I'm going to let you in on a secret, which isn't actually a secret at all, about how to put that date back as far as possible, age better, look better, have an easier ride in menopause, be a better example to your grandkids, maintain confidence, independence, dignity, and quality of life for as long as possible, and probably be a bit sexier along the way. Now, according to my wife, who I love and respect very much, Downton Abbey was a great film, because some working class folk talked about them upstairs, and some posh folk derided those downstairs, and at some point someone put on a hat or something. According to me, and I know a lot more about this, Fight Club is the greatest film ever made. And among many thought-provoking lines from Tyler Durden in that movie, you hear, "This is your life, and it's ending a minute at a time." Now that sounds pretty bleak, but actually you've got a fair bit of choice in how that line plays out. You could spend your life doing generally decent human things. Volunteer at the local food bank, referee the wheelchair basketball, eat well most of the time with the occasional blowout, train properly, maybe not perfectly, but just effectively. If you do that, statistically speaking, you'll be alright. Or you could do morally irresponsible things like throwing a fridge into a river, wearing number 8 and playing in Manchester United's midfield, training in whatever way is trending on Instagram this week, and eating like a 7-year-old who's been left alone with a debit card. Same lifespan, very different quality of life. This black line is finite. You don't get extra years for extra vibes. Now, let's improve things slightly. This pink line represents what happens when someone says, "I go to the gym." Does that phrase imply structure, a plan, progression, the first clue what you're actually doing? Absolutely not. But it certainly implies that we're prepared to get off the couch and make an effort, and that we've got some understanding that we really ought to be doing something if we want a better life. And yes, we've all had that moment in our worst thoughts when someone says, "I go to the gym," and the tiny little voice in our head says, "Right, but what do you actually do when you're in there?" But here's the thing, we don't get to judge, because going already is a big deal. In the same way that maybe an addict might avoid the place that feeds their addiction, because if they go there long enough, they'll eventually indulge. If you keep going into a gym, eventually, by law of averages, you'll do something useful. You'll lift a weight, you'll breathe hard, you'll move in a way that maybe your body wouldn't have chosen to do. Is it optimal? Maybe not. Is it better than nothing? Massively. The pink line exists because awareness exists. You've acknowledged that exercise matters, and honestly, that alone puts you ahead of most people. And here you can see the little result that maybe that will project for you. Now, here's where things get interesting. This orange line represents what we call progressive overload. Or as the first law of training states, "Thou shalt not train like a wet lettuce." If you deliberately increase what you do over time, heavier weights, more reps, more sets, faster runs, longer efforts, your body has no choice but to adapt. To put it another way, as I've previously said on this channel, the magic you're looking for is in the work you're choosing not to do. At one point, you couldn't dress yourself, you couldn't speak or toilet yourself, but the less said about your behaviour at your work Christmas do, the better. You developed and improved those necessary skills throughout life, and you made progress. At one point, you had no independent wealth. You owned nothing. But you realised that to move on in life, you had to do more. So why would anyone think that lifting the same weight the same number of times or moving the same distance at the same speed is ever going to improve your outcomes? Exercise is no different to life. You need to progressively do more to get the results that you desire. And one of the biggest reasons as you go through middle age and further is that skeletal muscle is one of the strongest predictors of longevity that we have, especially your leg strength. and they come slightly ahead of lung capacity or your VO2 max. I've attached the link to the TED Talk by Dr. Gabrielle Lyon when she brilliantly explains the effects of muscle loss and fat gain in middle age and how to avoid them. If you never lift heavier or do more volume, why would your muscles grow stronger? If you never go faster or further in your cardio, why would your lungs suddenly decide to get bigger and more efficient? They won't. They're not motivational. Now here's the awkward bit. You already knew all of this. Every single bit. So maybe, just maybe, 2026 is the year you ignore the get fit quick nonsense, the magic potions, the 7-day transformations, and instead eat sensibly, train with intent and progression, and respect this orange line. Because your life is ending a minute at a time, but you may as well make those minutes strong ones. And that's it. Easy.